Welcome to Day Zero Update for April 5th, 2026. I'm your host, Chris Sologi.
I'm Brandon Perkins.
And I'm Janet Victorio.
And yeah, we've got a big week of news as well as over the next couple of months here. Because, boy, there's a lot coming out this month. Just constantly. We've got other things that are happening. We got a couple of games that are shutting down. We got some interesting news about an Xbox 360 dev kit that somebody found in Scotland, as well as some other industry news, a couple of layoff stories, and one studio getting acquired. That is an interesting story.
Yep.
So we'll get to that. But before we do, we'll talk about what we've been playing, and I'll kick it off here. I've been playing a good bit of Rackcoin, Coin Pusher Roguelite. That's the whole title there. That is, takes the concept of the coin pusher as like a little arcade thing that you might see. I feel like I've not really seen too much of them. Maybe an older fashioned thing or either a thing. But here it kind of takes that concept and applies the recent Bellatra of just what if we add a bunch of nonsense to it, make it really fun and stimulating in that way, which has been a lot of fun play so far.
Yep.
So when you start, you get to pick the character that you are, which initially is sort of a tutorial character, I think called the through, and you should be able to win that run pretty easily, but it doesn't. From there, you get to a manager who has these different characters have like different perks to them and some different gameplay styles to them, especially with the second one, which I think is called the biologist. I don't have recollection of what all of them are called, but the jobs like the first one is pretty basic. I feel like it has a lot of the actually that can be put into play. Those can do a bunch of the biologist has this like hunting mechanic to it. You're using a bunch of these like animal coins.
Yep.
Ecosystem kind of thing going on here, like the wolf birds and bunnies and that kind of stuff, and it kind of plays some interesting ways. I've been mostly sticking with the manager. Get the get the basics in and kind of see where which is pretty fun. And yeah, I'm looking at like screenshots I've taken to remember like what's all in here. So you have your Joker likes are these chips that you collect. I don't think the order is anything you mess with. And you have your prizes, which are sort of like power-ups that you get. Those will often show up on the board as in like prize balls kind of thing. The half clear, half plastic kind of ball. Throw coins into potentially your hand, though. If you already have a full set of prizes, then from there there's things you can get that will potentially like use those to be automatically sold, or they might score, they might respawn. And then you have your clip, which collects like special coins that you can throw into the field. And so on that field you have two things that shoot in your regular coins from the left and right side. And if you got to time that, because otherwise you're shooting them on top of other coins, kind of diffusing their ability to push coins down to the bottom field that can then push those off into your score, whatever. But there's the one that's kind of rotating back and forth. That's where your special coins come out of. What else? You have a spin mechanic here that essentially like every 8 coins that gets knocked out in a combo, it fills up one chunk of this meter. You get all 3 filled up, it'll spin. If you get good combos going and you fill up the meter, multiple times, you get better results that come out of that. And one of the things that can come out of that is a tower of coins. Essentially, like the pusher part of the board backs up, in turn knocking a bunch of coins from that top part. And then this tower of coins, depending on how much you get on that, it'll be bigger or smaller, and at times when it's big enough, it'll literally pop up an alternate. See what's going on behind there. You can also just have that window up at all times if you want, depending on how you set up your options and all that. And yeah, it's pretty fun when you get the tower, uh, because it's a pretty solid thing until it starts getting to the edge of the field, and then from there it starts to fall apart. Also, you can kind of destroy it with some of the power up prizes, depending on what you've got there. And then the other thing is the exchange mechanic. So I think most rounds you start with you can throw onto the field, and when you run out of that, you go into what they call, I think, bankruptcy. A little like raccoon dude will show up and give you an option of shaking the board, potentially like bring up additional scoring coins, and potentially building up a combo for the spin, maybe something that can kind of get you going. That's like your last ditch thing you can do. But most of the time you'll have exchanges that you can do, which is essentially trading in arcade style tickets for some extra coins. It's 10 coins, I think, for each like mark that you have for the exchanges that go in, usually like 4 or 5 most of the time. Extra coins you can add to your hand and be able to use. So if you're not too far off getting your score, or you just want to get extra tickets out of it, that's a risk reward kind of thing there. But yeah, you're kind of using all of these things to um, manipulate the score rate that you're getting for each coin. There's ways of manipulating the value, some that are more direct than others, and yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff going on here that's makes it maybe initially complicated, but the way the tutorial runs you through all this, it makes sense for what's going. If you do get the field of coins sort of emptied out a good bit, there's like a bird that will come down and basically poop coins onto the field. You can see its little X butthole while it's doing this. And so yeah, I think every handful of rounds you get through, you get like sometimes like making the stuff in the shop between rounds cheaper, or various other things it can do. Sometimes you can get its give the refill thing an infinite amount of times that can pop up. I think initially it's 10 times in a round. But yeah, then you get to the shop and between rounds, and that's where you get to refill your clip, potentially buy new chips and prizes and all that. That's where you can upgrade your clip of coins, so you can hold more coins or hold more of each type of coin for that, and there are ways of for that. But yeah, you're kind of trying to build out a good loadout of things here, and yeah, it makes for a kind of all about dopamine stuff and all that. So yeah, it's out on Steam right now. I think they said they're gonna try to get out on consoles later this year, and yeah, it's really fun. It has some neat graphical options to it, where I think by default it has like a CRT filter on, as well as like a pixelated filter, all the 3D models in it, which the stream I did, because that's gonna introduce more data that will just make the video file bigger. Played a bit on Steam Deck, and I don't know that I would say it's great on Steam Deck because it's a very busy interface. So managing that with just the buttons is not great. It does have like shortcuts to kind of highlight certain parts of the screen to navigate in. But otherwise, like the left stick or the touchpads to mimic the mouse input on there. So yeah, it's a game that has been pretty fun so far, and I'm unlocking more stuff in it. I think I have try to mess around with some of those later jobs, and maybe soon have a review. But it's doing pretty well too. They just announced they sold 100,000. And yeah, that's a red coin. If you like Balatro and need a new fix, something new to get you interested in, feel about this. Let's see, the other new game I've been playing, I got this on PS5 at Temtem Swarm. Um, this is a spin-off of Temtem, the Pokemon clone that's sort of focused on 2v2 battles, as well as being somewhat of an MMO. The era that Pokemon wasn't that just yet. Now it's, and this is basically taking Pokemon kind of formula to Vampire Survivors, and so that makes for a pretty interesting. Initially, you start, you have one location and I think two items play with initially, and you pick one of them and do your run. You're probably not going to last too long, maybe like 6 or 7 minutes is what my first run was. But it's you start with one of the abilities, and so far a lot of them are analogous to what is in Vampire Survivors.
Mm.
But there are some that are different. You can get some that are just like I think you start with the water type, and I forget what the other one is. It might be the water type. One of the abilities I could add during the level up is more of just a big wave that pushes enemies back, doesn't do any damage. And so far, that's not been one that's at a certain point you've got enough enemies. Pushing them away a little bit is not super great, especially when the ultimate for that Tem is basically that, but it does a bunch of damage.
Mm.
Shoots this big bunch of damage. But the interesting thing that it does is that I think you can do 4 abilities and 4 passives
Mm.
For the initial build at least. But you can on later level ups, you can potentially get offered new abilities that yours with. So if you do kind of get bad rolls early on for what you get offered, you can potentially replace that at a certain point. So that's neat. But so far it's been pretty easy to kind of upgrade get those to the max. That's and then from there, you do get the ability to evolve them. I forget if it's in the like chest you get from beating bosses or boss-like enemies, or if it's something that shows up as another level up thing. But the other neat thing they do is they have events going on around the level, so that um, you'll see like a icon pop up on whatever direction you need to go for that little event, and then stuff I've seen so far has been like, oh, you just stand here in this zone and kill the enemies that don't get killed while you're here. Which most of these events seem to pop up like one of those chests. They give you some bonus upgrades on abilities and maybe some currency as well. Another one that's basically like a version of needing to run through these like hoops that gives you increased speed to do this, and if you get through enough of them, it'll spawn a chest for that. And others will be just like, oh, you need to beat up this big base that has kind of thing. And there's a couple others I've seen. It's all like quick stuff that you can do in like usually 10 to 15 too much of your time. But I've definitely had points, especially later in the game, where it's like there's too many people to stand in this spot for 15 goal thing. But yeah, then at like 20 minutes is how long the runs are. It'll spawn a big boss and then kill it. I've managed to get to and kind of just had so little health and so little control over doing things that I ended up just almost kind of get to the end of the boss, but ended up just getting 1 point because I did not pick up, I did not get a passive that was refilling my health. I was basically just literally running around trying to find breakable vases and hoping to refill my health some. And the health isn't as generous as in like Vampire Survivors, where you'd find the chicken to refill like at least half, or if not half, like almost all of your health bar. It would be like cherry for that. So yeah, that's been pretty fun. It does also have a co-op mode. I think it's online only, but I could be wrong on that. It does have like, so I think you can just get on and play with other people, either people on your. There's a means for bringing people back in, but I think that's also an additional way of playing the game for some additional stuff, and still haven't even really cracked too much into a lot of the meta progression. Sometimes you have big skill trees that you use the currency you get to fill them out. That takes a good bit of currency. It's not the type of upgrade system that Vampire Survivors has, where it's you buy one upgrade and everything else gets slightly. Here it's a basic skill tree, and it's unique to each tem. So you do have to decide, like, I've been using more into some of these others to kind of make them a little bit stronger. And I did unlock a new tem, third one, which starts as an egg. And I think you have to go and do like one of the events to unlock it. I think that's what it was saying. So I have a third. That was like what I was doing my last run. I'm still in the point where every time I finish a run, I get a bunch of new things I've unlocked, challenges I've completed, and it's similar. A very long list of things to do. Some that are specific to the stages, some specific to the tems, some specific to the abilities you get. Some just tied to kill X amount of these enemies or beat this boss in 40 seconds and all that kind of stuff. So there's definitely a lot. Been pretty fun so far. So checking in on that, playing some more of it. I think that's like a $12 or $13 game. A little expensive on the genre, but still seems pretty solid for that. And the last game I'm playing is just some more MLB The Show 26. They just added the events in Diamond Dynasty for Easter and April Fool's Day. You're kind of supposed to figure out the to do. The one for April Fool's Day, they kind of give you like terrible versions of notable players and expect you to play a bunch with those kind of team builds for a bit. That's pretty much all I have. That's been what I've been doing. So how about you, Brandon? What have you been doing?
Well, as for me, well, among other things, I am still playing Splatoon 3. I don't really have a whole lot to say about that other than the fact that there's a new Splatfest that'll be coming up in, let me see, I think it's going to be, yeah, it starts next week on the 16th. And I'm looking forward to that. The last Splatfest was a lot of fun, and I want to be able to take part in that again. But the other big thing I've been doing is I've been playing Death Stranding 2. And for those who remember, I played the original Death Stranding back in the day when it originally came out. I've never played the director's cut because I didn't really need to play the whole game again. I'd experienced all of it. And I actually really liked the original form of Death Stranding when it originally came out. I thought it was a very unique and compelling experience. But I also completely understand why some people hated it, because it's got a lot of elements to it that, if you're the type of person, like, it's a Kojima game, so right off the bat that it's going to be a little weird. But Death Stranding is like when Kojima lets his weirdness run loose. That last game, it can, for some people it would be really tedious because that the whole game is essentially you're Sam, you're a porter, you're taking packages from point A and you're getting them to point B. That's basically the whole game. And you're given a bunch of different ways you can do that. You can do it on foot. You can use vehicles. There will be points when you'll have to use things like ladders or climbing anchors and ropes, stuff like that to get up or down surfaces, all that type of stuff. And, your gear deteriorates over time. And if your gear completely deteriorates, your health completely deteriorates, and all that. But and of course, encumbrance and momentum are both like major parts of that game. Not just the fact that, you have to manage all the stuff that you have on your person at any given time, but also you have to remember that when you walk, you're not just walking over a flat surface. You can easily, trip over rocks or whatever is in your way. You have to go over rivers, mountains, things like that. Death Stranding 2, it actually addresses a lot of the issues that people had with the original. For one thing, the game has a much more effective, fast travel mechanic, because basically you have this it's like mothership or whatever that you can use to go from one place to another if you need to. There's also like vehicles that you can get pretty much almost right out the gate that will help break up the monotony. There's also a lot more emphasis on action as well this time, because you'll frequently come across, bandit camps and stuff. And unlike in the first game, where basically you have to more or less use you can really only use like one or two weapons without causing, actually killing anyone. Because in the world of Death Stranding, if you kill someone, you'll cause what they call a void out, which is, for lack of a better word, a giant atomic explosion that takes out everyone in like a half-mile radius. In this case, you're given weapons like early on that can basically just knock people out. So the game emphasizes action a little bit more than the last one did. And also, and this is kind of, I guess, actually I won't mention that because it is kind of a spoiler for those who haven't played it yet, but yeah, that game, much like with the first Death Stranding, I find myself really liking it. And I know, I have been told, it's a Kojima game, it's going to get weird. I am told the last few hours of that game are probably the weirdest he has ever gotten. So, yeah, that's what I've been playing. So, Dan, what about you?
Yeah, for me, the main game that I've been Fishbowl.
Mm-hmm.
This is available on both PS5 and PC by a small studio of two people called I Miss My Friends Studio.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this game is a pandemic game. It takes place during the pandemic. You play a young woman named Alo who moves from wherever she is in India to the big city. And in this big city, she also, finds her first big girl job, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, while she's, getting used to moving to her bigger digs, she is also dealing with the death of her grandmother. So this, on top of the fact that, yeah, they're in COVID, they are getting used to shelter in place. It's, a really rough kind of atmosphere for her. But at the end of the day, you got to live. And basically, this game is 1 month of working from home and sheltering in place. You wake up, you take your shower, you go to work, you cook, open packages, send texts, binge watch TV, things like that. And everything that you do will affect your mood. If you do things like take a shower and eat, it'll make your mood better. If you decide to, binge watch your favorite TV show or doom scroll through your social media, for some reason your mood gets worse. And the funny thing is, if you decide to do those two things, you can't back out of it. You have to do it. And then, okay, you go ahead and deal with your mood being worse. And the main reason why you don't want your mood being worse is because it'll prevent you. Early on in the game, she has a conversation with her mother about what to do with all of her late grandmother's stuff. And all of a sudden, it gets shipped off to her. There's a funny little cutscene of every single one of her rooms having all these boxes. And it becomes a daily task to actually look through the boxes. So when you do that, you play this sort of mini game to get these boxes sorted, move things around, and then you'll find these various items that'll make Alo remember what life was like as a kid as she was growing up with. And eventually, as you would expect, it all just comes down to really emotional moments. And the reason why I really enjoyed this game was because it really shows the intricacies of mood. One day you can really be motivated to do something, and then all of a sudden the next day you're just not feeling it. It could be something that happened to you the previous day. It could be something that you did that just triggered you later. It was just a really cool nice little slice of life narrative. And my favorite thing in the game was actually the work from home aspect. When you go on your computer, you're going to go on things like Slack or Teams, whoever you use to talk to your coworkers. But at the same time, you actually do the work. And what she actually does is she's a video editor. So you do things like sort B-roll and things like that. And luckily, I am terrible at video. So I'm glad you don't actually do any of that. It ends up just being a time-based sorting minigame. And I found it to be a lot of fun. A lot of the mini games here are pretty mundane. Everything that you do in the game has some sort of a quick time event, except for this work from home thing, as well as the handheld video games system you find later on. And that's always a pretty cool thing to do. So yeah, I was really impressed by what I played. I actually am going to have an interview with the development team maybe sometime this or next week, depending on how quickly they respond to their emails. But yeah, you can go ahead and check out the review on SmashPad. I gave it a 4. Our review was actually picked up and quoted by their marketing company. So yeah, pretty cool stuff, and I'm glad I got to play that. Last week I wasn't around because I was at PAX East, but that also gave me some time to be on the plane with a cross-country flight, so I finally started Pokemon Pokopia. Shout out to Adriana, because somebody who watches her stream ended up giving her a code. She ended up with 2 codes, and she gave me one of them. So for those of you that don't know, I've sort of been boycotting Pokopia simply because when a game is available both physically and digitally, I usually elect to get the physical version, and unfortunately this one's a keycard, so that was one reason why I was never going to spend money on it. So I'm glad I didn't with this one. And let me tell you, this is the most well-reviewed game of the year so far, and it very much deserves to be that. For those of you who are living under a rock and don't know what's happening with Pokopia, in this game you play as a Ditto in sort of a post-apocalyptic world where there are no humans and there are no Pokemon. But Ditto takes the form of their trainer, which you can have be a male or female, and all of a sudden you run into a Tangrowth, or whatever the most evolved form of Tangela is. And eventually, you learn about what happened in the world, and then you venture out and you find a Squirtle just sleeping, and Ditto learns Water Gun from this Squirtle, and this is what allows the world to sort of evolve after, being in its post-apocalyptic state. So when you're watering the ground, things become more green. You can make the dead grass alive again, and as you do that, as you make more grass appear, Bulbasaur appears, and then Bulbasaur eventually teaches you a move that allows you to make more grass. You make more grass, and all of a sudden Charmander appears, who all of a sudden gives you the power of fire and things like that. So it's a pretty much lather, rinse, repeat process until you find all of these Pokemon partners who are able to help you build this world. Scyther can make you cut down trees and whatever it may be to make wood, and all of these materials can be used to just create a brand new community, and that's what Pokemon Pokopia is. It's essentially Animal Crossing, but at the same time, there's no debt to pay. You're actually just encouraged to keep playing, and if you don't want to play, it's no big deal, but there is an actual story here. You are going to find certain Pokemon who obviously you can talk to because you are a Pokemon, and you find out that they all have different kinds of stories and things like that. And I've really been enjoying that aspect of it. I haven't played as much as I would like, simply because this has been my playing game, and I plan to play a little bit more once I get my embargoed games out of the way. But yeah, I'm really enjoying my time with Pokopia, and I'm looking forward to jumping back in there. I do want to talk about some of the highlights that I played from PAX East, but before that, I do want to mention that I did watch the Mario Galaxy movie a couple days ago. I liked it a lot. I definitely do not agree with the 0 out of 10 that I was given a few days ago. But, the reality of the situation is this is a kid's movie. You got to be watching it through the kid's eyes, or as someone who's a huge fan of Mario. And while I do recognize the fact that, the plot overall is weak, every plot in every Mario game is weak, including the Mario RPG games. So, that doesn't really make that big of a difference to me. In fact, there is one thing that happens in the movie that sort of retcons what we saw otherwise in the Mario Galaxy games, and that is actually a huge plot device that no other Mario game would even try to dare do, because it goes into the origin stories over important characters. So for those of you who watched the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I actually found that pretty cool. As with a lot of people, my favorite character in the game ended up being Star Fox, who was revealed to be in the movie last week. Unfortunate spoiler that became marketing, and I can understand why it was marketed, especially since there was a certain leak about a Star Fox game happening later on. But at the same time, it's a cool announcement because the kids who don't know who Star Fox is will all of a sudden have their parents or uncles or loved ones show them what Star Fox is when they get home. And Star Fox is an absolute hoping that we start to see it get better.
Yeah, I'm just glad that Nintendo is apparently acknowledging that the series even exists.
Absolutely. And again, like when you think about what Nintendo can do with these properties, especially with the movie medium, Star Fox really fits. It's really, really, I don't want to say it's hard to make a space movie suck, because there are absolutely space movies that do suck, but Star Fox is one that really lends itself well to the kids, especially with the popularity of was that Paw Patrol, something like that. Like there's definitely some wholesome vibes there, and Star Fox can definitely do that kind of thing. And yeah, I hope it is something that takes off. And if not, great. At the same time, like we're learning about Nintendo's IP. And it's really, really powerful stuff. Like, that being said, don't go in here expecting this to become, like, part of the Super Smash Bros. Universe. But I will say that there is still some hope, because the Easter eggs do lend itself well to that. But if you're expecting the post-credit scene to really tickle your fancy there, there is some... there is definitely a hint of what will happen in the sequel, but it's definitely not Smash-related. It's definitely more in the Mario vibes. But at the end of the day, for those who want to say it, yes, the Sonic movies are better, but there is definitely still a lot of charm in the Mario Galaxy movie. And whether you want to watch it yourself as a Mario fan or you want to take kids, I definitely think it's an enjoyable film. So, anyway, moving on with PAX East, my favorite games that I played there, number one was Rain 98. For those of you who aren't familiar with that one, this is a visual novel being developed by a small indie Japanese team called Character, and this one's kind of dark. There hasn't been anything like particularly gruesome in the demo that I played, but basically you play this guy from 2025 who all of a sudden wakes up at an apartment in 1998 with this girl named Reina, and Reina is a bit of a tsundere, if you're familiar with that anime term, the woman who is particularly cold but has the potential to really warm up to the main character, whatever it may be. And basically, she gives you these chores, and whenever you perform one to her expectations, you get a stamp on your bingo card, and there's 100 squares on this thing, and once you fill it up, she will end the world. If you will. And yeah, there's definitely some darkness there. I am enjoying the lo-fi vibes, and that was pretty cool. So there's that. Another game that I played is a donut making game called High Times. This one is actually developed by a small team in the Philippines. So yeah, very much in my wavelength there. And it's a lot like Coffee Talk, In Coffee Talk, you have conversations with customers who are going through different things. And the main difference is that in High Times, your donut is going to change their mood. You're not there to chill with these people. You're there to make them feel better with donuts. So you have to cut the dough. You have to throw the dough in the fryer, and then all of a sudden you have to, go ahead and put cream and whatever toppings are on there. And each of these creams and toppings correspond to a different mood or feeling that anybody can have. So you want to make sure that you do it right. If you don't make a donut that they want, you end up like losing money for the day, and that's not really ideal. But yeah, I was talking to the developers. They said they expect this to be a 40-hour title, assuming that you're listening to all the voice acting. And despite this being an indie game, they do have a lot of, well-known voice actors there. Like one of the characters is voiced by Johnny Young Bosch, who a lot of people will know as Adam from the Power Rangers, or more recently he is Joshua in the remake of the Legend of Trails game, or Legend of Heroes games. So yeah, there's that. Also, another game that I really enjoyed was Backyard Baseball. Backyard Baseball will be making its return in July, and there was a derby mode that we could play there. And, a bunch of the favorites are back. The three characters they included were obviously Pablo Sanchez. He's someone who's always been like the GOAT as far as the backyard sports games go. There's Kenny Kawaguchi, the Asian guy in the wheelchair. And then there's Keisha Phillips, the really, really strong African American girl. And yeah, they were all really, really fun to use in this derby mode. The other cool thing the derby mode offered is the ability to have crazy pitches. And with these crazy pitches, they are exactly what they say. Like sometimes the balls will be on fire, so they come faster. They also throw ice balls at you, where all of a sudden they throw it, and then all of a sudden the ball will stop in their tracks. And if you swing, you're gonna get an automatic strike just because the ball isn't coming your way. So, and things like that. I also had a short discussion with the founder and CEO of Playground Productions, who were the people that bought the rights to the backyard sports games. So yeah, that'll definitely go up sometime soon, and I'm looking forward to this game coming out in July, and that'll be like a week before All-Star Weekend. So it's going to be pretty good timing, and it's definitely shaping up pretty well so far. And yeah, that's pretty much it from me.
All right.
All right, so yeah, let's get to some news. And first up, we have April's PlayStation Plus Essential, which has 3 games here, and an interesting list. For the PS5, there's Lords of the Fallen, the second game in the series, sequel to a game called Lords of the Fallen, because they decided not to call it Lords of the Fallen 2 after all. Or
Yeah.
I think they called it The Lords of the Fallen.
Yeah.
Just Lords of the Fallen. It's some stupid, but it is the Souls-like, their second attempt at a Souls-like. And maybe the one downside is at least the team leads on this, maybe the studio leads, people very well willing to dip in anti-woke culture war stuff. So, next up here, Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered, the Lara Croft Adventures remakes of the original trilogy, more remakes because they offer new controls and old controls. I think still updating with challenge stuff, which people wondered if that's the fun thing that's going on there. And then the last one here, Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream. This is, I assume, an RPG. Really describe it well here at all. But yeah, it's co-op RPG, I guess. Team up with a total of 20 players from around the world in one of 5 parties, comprised of 4 players each for multiplayer co-op. But yeah, that's your lineup, and it's a very weird lineup. I don't know anything you're interested in, Brandon.
Probably the Tomb Raider remasters.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in Lords of the Fallen. It's a fairly generic Souls-like. And I'm not really a Sword Art Online person, so probably the Tomb Raider remasters, really.
How about you, Danner?
Yeah, this is a big no from me, mainly because April is just busy with a lot of big games that I want to play / review, and yeah, these games mostly don't.
So yeah, there you go for that. Also seems to be the first month where, I'm assuming at least PS5.
Yeah.
Only in the graphic for that. But let's get to some dates here. Zero Parades for Dead Spies. Got a new date of May 21st for the PC version.
Yeah.
It'll be out later in the year for PS5. The new game from the studio that made Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
Zaum.
Except that all the people
yeah.
I was going to say, all the people who actually were the principal creators of Disco Elysium are no longer at the company and had a very, very public falling out with the company.
Who exactly is still there? But I'm sure once this game comes out, people will look through the credits and figure out like who actually is this studio. But I played the demo, and it definitely has a lot of similarities to Disco Elysium. But kind of for some interesting ways, because you have different kinds of characters that you are playing. I mean, like the role that you're playing. not necessarily the character itself, I think, but the in dialogue with people is pretty neat, and interacting with things in the environment. It's looking like a pretty interesting game. There you go. Team Epic Game for that. Yeah, Rec Room is shutting down on June 1st.
Yeah.
The VR, initially a VR, has been around for almost 10 years, I think, at this point. Basically said in their blog post about this that they basically never quite figured out how to make Rec Room a sustainably profitable business. Our costs always ended up overwhelming the revenue we brought in. We spent a long time trying to figure or find a way to make the numbers work. With a recent shift in the VR market, along with the broader headwinds in gaming, the path to profitability has gotten tough enough that we've made the difficult decision to shut things down. We're making this decision now while we have the ability to wind things down thoughtfully. And it's with us. At June 1st, players will not be able to log in or play it. The website will go offline, and all the services related to Rec Room Studio will be unavailable. Which that was their like creative suite. Because essentially it was like a social hub that you could do. You could play some multiplayer stuff with other people, or just hangouts, and kind of a Roblox or Fortnite style. Make some money off of that. The devs never really figured out a way to make a profit, a significant enough profit, like a subscription service that I think is such a regular 2D version of the game, so you could play on without VR and all that. So yeah, it just kind of never seemed to figure out the way. Really successful, but at least it did well enough to last this long. Can handle it. Yeah, hopefully the studio is able to survive this shutdown and kind of be ready to work on whatever's next. We'll see, but yeah, there you go.
It's sad to hear, but comes breaks.
Yeah. But yeah, also happening in June, alongside the Summer Game Fest, Xbox will be hosting their Xbox games on Sunday, June 7th, and directly after that will be their Gears of War E-Day Direct that will focus solely on Gears of War E-Day, show like what to expect with that game. So maybe that will go really well for that. I'm curious what other they've had following that, because I want to say Starfield was one of them, which probably sold well enough, but not turn out to be a great game.
Yeah, it sold okay, but
Call of Duty was last year's.
yeah.
Okay, another game that did not do well. So, Gears of War, you got your work cut out for you.
I mean, there definitely is some reason to still look. You know, the last showcase unfortunately happened right before they made the announcement with Phil and Sarah. But I thought like that was the best Xbox showcase like we ever had, and that happened this year. So hopefully they can follow it up with some more interesting stuff. Because yeah, like those studios that they all bought should all have something to show by now. Or else you know what happens. But yeah, I'm also looking forward to this one because they're doing a fan fest, which they haven't done in quite a bit. When they did it a couple years ago, I was at Summer Game Fest, but Xbox didn't invite us to anything. And now that we're pretty good with them, I'm hoping we're able to do something this year. But we'll see. It should definitely be an interesting weekend at Summer Game Fest, because one thing that I didn't talk about, when I was at G. Well, first of all, with PAX East, like there weren't as many AAAs there as I'm used to, but at the same time, they were able to replace them with others who weren't there before. Like this year, for example, Nintendo was there. They were not there last year, but at the same time, this year they were missing Square Enix and Bandai Namco. So now that both GDC and PAX East were smaller than I thought, that kind of raises my expectations for Summer Game Fest as well as this Xbox event a little bit. But yeah, well, we'll see when we get.
Okay, last year's was the Outer Worlds 2.
Oh, you're right.
Call of Duty one. And in Starfield, that's also a game that did not do well. As I've said, we're not making another one of those. Not great still for that. And also happening on June 30th, the Elder Scrolls Blades free-to-play game that has been going on since they had the early access launch on mobile and directly or sometime shortly after their E3 showcase. Then launching in May 2020 in the middle of all the Yeah, it was on mobile and Switch. I remember playing the Switch version a decent bit. Yeah, this is just one of those kind of. It very much felt like a mobile game in terms of you go out and fight enemies, a handful of enemies per run, and then you come back. Materials that you use to build up. Nothing really all that engrossing for what it was, and yeah, it just seems all that well to justify keeping it alive. And yeah, now it's going away. You haven't checked it out. You got some time to start it up. But did not really live up to the. What have you had? They posted as like it's a Fallout Shelter, um, and that's not a great thing. Really good. This game was a lot more came out. Now they've done like a more Fallout Shelter style Elder Scrolls game. Anybody talk about that? Go on right now. What you think?
Yep.
But yeah, unfortunately, that's Microsoft. So, we got one last new date announcement. It's a game called Another Eden Begins, coming out September 17th on Switch. This is a very classic JRPG style that is happening.
Yep.
Looks pretty neat. So yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on. One of the screenshots definitely features it's more of a samurai sword or samurai version of Frog from Chrono Trigger, but I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I see what.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely one that I'm looking forward to. It's coming in around the time that I expect. That's also around the time that I expect, Trails in the Sky 2 to happen. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, hopefully this one is good. The previous Another Eden game is a mobile game, so like that doesn't really leave that much excitement for me. But at the same time, they have a lot of cool people behind it. It does kind of leave a bad taste in the mouth if you're going to mention that everyone came from Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, and we know that this game isn't either of those. But at the same time, like if you watch any of the trailers, the music sounds great. The game looks solid. It's just a matter of like putting it all together. So yeah.
Yeah, the creator of this is Masato Kato. And the script for Chrono Trigger.
Yep.
As well as working on 7.
Yeah. He also worked on the original Ninja Gaiden trilogy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did like a lot of because he originally started out as like an artist, and he did like a lot of the cut scenes that you see in those games that were actually kind of like a sort of a really big deal back then, because that wasn't really a thing that games did. So yeah.
Yeah.
He's done that. Like you said, he wrote the original Chrono Trigger. He worked on Xenogears. He did stuff on Final Fantasy VII.
He's worked on a bunch of mana games, children, like scenario writing for them. Worked on Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings in the Lost Ocean.
Yep.
Some of the Sheer and the Wanderer games, 3, which ignore that one, but nobody's gonna.
Yeah.
So yeah, at least somebody interested. They just mentioned him.
Well, because I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a sequel, or at least related to another project he'd done a few years ago that was also called.
Director, scenario, script.
Yep.
So yeah, he's been.
Oh yeah.
Back in. There you go. That's one to keep an eye on. But yeah, that's it for the dates here. At least industry news. And this one was a pretty interesting story to see. Somebody in Scotland happened to go to a flea market there and find an Xbox 360 dev kit that they bought for pretty cheap, and labeled on the top of it is Rockstar North, and started digging into the files that were on there and has put up on the Internet Archive, and found out a bunch of like unfinished content for GTA 4 that was in there. Things, a beta build of the game, a bunch of uncut or cut content. Somebody was working on maybe a bunch of other stuff in there, like weapon stuff. So now people that work on GTA 4 mods on PC are like, get that. Yeah, that's kind of neat to have some of this kind of get at Rockstar. Pretty tight-lipped on any bit of like behind the scenes stuff on there.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I mean, it looks interesting. I'll sort of keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, let's see a trip here through what happens to old fucking cartoons. The Super Mario Brothers Super Show is probably was this the first Mario sort of non-gaming thing thing that they did. Might have had some before this, but I think this show was the first one.
They did have like an OVA
Yeah,
like that, but yeah, this I think was sort of like their first animation run in the U.S.
yeah. So this show has made it onto MeTV, which, if you don't know, it's the channel for old people, for all the shows you remember as a youth. And if you're like, "Oh, I watched this and this on there," sorry to, but the Super Mario Brothers Super Show has made it onto there, and it seems like it was run through an AI upscale filter,
Hmm.
because a lot of what's happened here,
Like very bad.
like there's a shot of, I don't know what they're doing here. It looks like they're going up, the stairs into an airplane, but Toad's face looks like a Lego figure,
Hmm.
and his hat is looks like the rim of a sombrero now. And everybody else looks like they were created in an Eastern European, Soviet era cartoon.
Hmm.
It's that kind of way that it's fucked up the art style here.
Oh yeah.
Even the like title card calls it the Suele Mario Brothers Super Show.
Hmm.
Super looks like it's SUELE.
Hmm.
Yeah, then there's a lot of, and so it's an idea like, how did this happen? Did MeTV get the original cuts of the show and put it through, but maybe they didn't even get that company that had the rights to this to license it out.
Hmm.
Maybe AI upscale it on their own to give it to them, for modern TVs to show, and it's like, I don't know, but whatever happened here, comparing it to probably the low quality versions of the show on YouTube, is
Hmm.
probably gonna make this look, it's just awful.
Yeah, I have these on DVD, and they weren't known for fabulous animation back then, but it was better than this. This is really really sad to see, and as we all know, with like AI upscalers or whatever you want to call them, they never get text right once you run them through it. And just looking at that Super Mario Brothers logo screams that it was done that way, and you wonder why it was done in the first place. And like, funny story about like MeTV or whatever it's called being proof that you're old. I remember like watching this show as a cartoon on what was called the Family Channel, which is now ABC Family, and it was on like at 6 a.m. And then I remember like a few years later in my life, they were on PAX TV, which I don't know if that is what WeTV is nowadays, but like that was where my family used to watch the show Touched by an Angel and stuff like that. But yeah, like that was also on at random times, and I would actually wake up to enjoy the show despite the fact that it was bad. But this,
I would say MeTV is like a version of it that had like old sick. Looking at their shows that they have right now, and it's like there's Looney Tunes, yeah, Bugs Bunny and Friends, Popeye and Pals, Tom and Jerry Show, Woody Woodpecker Show, a lot of that, but also like classics like the Twilight Zone, the Three Stooges. Looks like the Star Trek Rawhide, Mission, The Love Boat, Lost in Space, like that class of show. It's probably not super valuable on most other networks to be playing it. It's the kind of thing you'll see random points of the. So yeah, to have that interesting of a show.
Hmm.
But let's get to probably the weirdest news of the week:
Hmm.
Stormgate. One of the games that came out of one of the like spin-off developers of,
Hmm.
I believe, a bunch of people that worked on, I think, Warcraft and Starcraft, started their own company working on a multiplayer RTS game that is free to play and all
Hmm.
that. And apparently, they had to announce this week, on their official Discord, that Hathora, the game's server orchestration partner, had been purchased by an AI company, and so that they were winding down their service as the end of April, and so that basically Stormgate's multiplayer modes will be offline foreseeable future.
Hmm.
Um, say we hope to restore online play in a future patch, but this work will be dependent on Frost Giant finding a partner to support ongoing operation. So yeah, now I believe they were working on some more local multiplayer content for the game, that now they have to kind of push that up. They want to play, classic land style stuff
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. We'll be able to do that. As definitely a way to take the wind out of the rug here for this kind of game because yeah, multiplayer is going to be the thing that people want to play this game for, and now it's been ruined by AI.
Mm-hmm.
Direct
Yep.
acquired by Fireworks AI. They did the multiplayer for Stormgate, Splitgate 2, and Predecessor. One of those does it in Predecessor. So yeah, not great.
Yeah. And that's why one of the reasons why I detest AI. So.
Let's see, we got an acquisition, a bit of news. Shift Up, the developers of Stellar Blade,
Mm-hmm.
have acquired Shinji Mikami's new studio, Unbound. Is an interesting deal that's happened here because Shinji Mikami, his studio at Microsoft, when they got acquired by Microsoft, and seemed to be in a place where you're like, oh, maybe he just doesn't want to be owned by a big company. Maybe he just didn't want to be owned by Microsoft. Maybe just he's like, we'll take Shift Up, uh, the team that's seems to be run by Sec. What happened during Stellar Blade's development? I think we had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of
Yeah.
part of the current culture war in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they won't have such a tight leash on whatever Shinji Mikami wants to make.
Maybe.
But yeah, Shinji Mikami's. They said that they are working on a fairly large game and aims to create a masterpiece. I've come to see my vision and ideals more clearly, and I don't think I've ever our wavelengths and direction align this closely. So for as long as my career continues, I would like to keep working together. For the first time in a while, I'll be fully involved on site to work on a fairly large game, and I'm looking forward to it. To all the
Mm-hmm.
gamers waiting for this, hope you can wait a little longer for its release. Shift Up is publishing their new game and anything else they're working on, as well as supporting the studio and building its own global service capabilities. Means hiring people.
Yep.
Jim Mikami also added here, I'm very pleased to be partnering with Kim Tae Kim and all the employees. I sense
Mm-hmm.
very strong energy with Kim, who is also an active creator, and I believe this is an ideal partnership that allows us to do our best to create fun games that both companies. Jim Mikami the best on this,
Nope, not really.
but he gets to have fun for a little bit longer,
Yep.
which makes me wonder how old 60 years old. Some companies at 60. But yeah, let's see. We got some layoff news. The Embracer Group has found 124 people at Eidos Montreal to cut,
Mm-hmm.
and in the process, the studio head David N. Fossey has also left the company after 19 years
Mm-hmm.
there. It seems like I don't think he was part of the cuts, but he probably would have to fuck the way the vibes look for this. So yeah, Eidos Montreal put out a statement on LinkedIn saying changing project needs and impacts across production and support teams have
Mm-hmm.
caused this, which is like I don't know what we've heard that they've we're working on things like new Deus Ex and some other stuff, but that stuff got canceled. They've been with the Embracer Group for a couple years. They're still just getting them constantly.
Yeah.
75 people was this last March 2025, and 97 positions were made redundant in January 2024.
Mm.
So that is almost 300 people in the last 2.5 years. You wonder how many people are still left, and sad news. But
Yeah, it's always, a rough time when we're talking about a layoff, which obviously happens like
Mm-hmm.
every week for us these days.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Eidos Montreal, and even looking at Crystal Dynamics, like these are a couple studios operated or were operated by Square Enix, and they put out some good stuff. Those Deus Ex games were fantastic. I personally liked the modern Tomb Raider trilogy, and in regard to Eidos Montreal, I think the last game they put out was the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I thought was stellar. And it was like a B-level game that we definitely, kind of need in this aspect. But at the end of the day, like when you're a AAA company, those don't have the financial output you would like, and it is what it is there. But, the unfortunate part is Embracer Group bought a lot of companies, and Eidos Montreal, in my opinion, was like, the crown jewel of everything that they've acquired. And it's tough that there's nothing to actually show for it. And it makes you wonder whether, like, the business minds at Square Enix, like, actually did make a mistake when they severed those ties. But at the end of the day, it's like you do have to come out with something. And as we both mentioned here, like we don't know what they were doing. We don't know who to point fingers at. It's absolutely easy to just go ahead and point fingers at Embracer because like it is probably their fault. But especially after an acquisition, you got to show that you're working on something. And if we don't know what you're working on, it's tough to say like what kind of work was actually done. But that being said, I hope all these people land on their feet. It's not going to get any easier, especially after what we heard with Epic last week. Like, one of the most underrated things as far as video game layoffs go is if a more recognizable company starts a layoff, and this is after, like, another layoff happens. It's like you've become less important in that regard, and it's just a rough situation to be in.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that kind of follows with our next studio here that's laying off people, Polyarc, developers of the Moss games for VR, who have said that basically this comes as a result of being unable to secure funding after the cancellation of a major project. This has led the developers to significantly reduce the size of the company.
Yeah.
By about 30 people here. Probably is a significant part of that super huge studio. So here we're saying goodbye to many talented people who have been a meaningful part of what we built. I want to thank everyone impacted. Your work, creativity, and care mattered. We made wonderful games together, and we could not have made it with this far without you. Contributions will continue to shape our culture. Yeah, so that is sad to see. Hopefully they can find a way through this. But yeah, being a smallish studio, losing a major project, definitely is the sort of get you to have to lay off people to.
Yeah, that's another rough one, especially since Polyarc is one of the who's who studios with VR. And as VR becomes like less and less commonplace, as if it wasn't already, it just goes to show that we don't really know where they'll go. At the end of the day, I do hope that we do see some regular 2D Moss games, because I think like those games were tremendous on VR, and they definitely could lend themselves out to like a regular gaming experience.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they are done making a surprise. They made two great ones, and they could certainly take that that can be played by a much wider audience. Let them chill and figure out what's. Yeah, we'll get to the last part of this show, which is the spring release, going in on things coming out here in April, May, and June, which increasingly gets smaller. People have announced dates for games in May and June, but April, I even kept off the games that have already come out. And keep this a little bit shorter, but we'll start here with the 7th on Tuesday. There's People of Note on PS5, Xbox, Switch 2, and PC. This is a big turn-based RPG that looks really neat. On Tuesday, seems like they'll have a launch discount for that. So let's see. We also got on that same day Sigma Star Saga DX on PS5. Sort of enhanced version of a GBA game that was pretty well regarded, but still had some rough edges on it. That proving for that. So that'll be cool to see.
Yeah.
As a game that has a good mix of like maybe a little bit of top-down Zelda with made for a pretty neat hybrid before we.
Oh yeah.
For that, so there's that, and then for the PS5, also on the 7th, Starfield. Not yet played that yourself. I guess you can do that now.
Yeah.
It'll be $40 for launch, or no, 50 and 70. Sorry.
Yeah, they're putting on like a bunch of they're adding a bunch of free upgrades, and also the paid DLC as well.
What this is opens up the interplanetary travel with cruise mode to travel from planet to planet. I was like, sure, I guess. I don't know, make the on planet.
Yeah, like look, honestly, the biggest issue with Starfield is that it still uses the well-trodden Bethesda formula in spite of all the bells and whistles they've attached to it. And the thing is, and on top of that, it still uses the same engine as well. And that's kind of what's holding this game back, those two.
Yeah. It's like the the Radiant quest system from Skyrim,
Yep.
kind of brought into. What if you just have the same base that you find on all these planets? Like the problem with Mass Effect was, whereas a lot of the on planet stuff was,
Yeah.
but also that was like 4 or 5 times you did it total. The entire game is that being the main thing here. That game will sell well anyway. Let's see, we got the 8th, Wednesday, that has a bunch of stuff as well. There's Chain Staff for PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. This is the new game from Mommy's Best Games. And it looks pretty neat. They describe it here as a side-scrolling action platformer. And yeah, that's a good looking game, especially the trademark kind of style that this developer has. Very much if you're like all of these, I feel like they're the smaller version of like Ace Team. I think they're Brazilian. I forget. That looks like one of them. Find Your Words on PC is also out on the game from Capybara Games. It's going to be a free game on Steam with optional paid supporter edition stuff you can get. It's a short adventure game where you are playing as a kid that is is at this summer camp where you're trying to learn to communicate without speech with other kids that have various speech issues and whatnot. So you have a communication bind, different combinations of symbols of unique meaning. So that looks like a really, really cool thing. This game's created by 2 devs at the studio that are both fathers. Definitely. So yeah, that's one to check out. Also on the 8th, Pokemon Champions. Finally, that game comes out. And yeah, it'll be free to start, as Nintendo likes to use when they're going to sell that, especially when they can tie it into Pokemon Home and all that. I'm going to go all out on that, especially I think with battle passes and all that. So we thought Nintendo's been charging a lot for Pokemon games before.
Yeah, Pokemon Champions was a game that I played a little bit of during PAX East because that was like the main demo they had in the show floor. I really liked a lot of what I played about it, and they do have like sort of a rental Pokemon system that we saw in Pokemon Stadium for those that didn't have their own to deal with. But yeah, like based on the conversations that I've had with like a bunch of the IGN folks that I was in line with, they don't expect the mobile side to be too egregious. I mean, there are definitely some points where like you will have to like settle and spend money on. And for the record, like the people I was talking to are the kinds of people who are like gonna spend some, but like not their entire life savings on stuff like that. Like this is a game that I do actually want to review for us, and I want to try to give myself a $100 limit to see what I can do now. But like just from what's being shown right now, like I do like what I've played, but we'll see how agreed.
I know they do give you like a set of, but I've also heard that they limit sort of the stats stuff for these Pokemon. Because I know there's different kinds of stats, like the IV stats. I think it is that people try to farm out for the best possible bonus stats stuff for Pokemon fans.
Yeah, there's always been like arbitrary limitations in regards to like the kind of IV stats as well as the items that you can use on your Pokemon to give them better attributes. And then like the interesting thing with having them follow a mobile gotcha style system is the fact that like in as far as like EV training goes, like that is hours and hours of work already. So, I'm not saying like this is the best way to do it, but if I can spend $20 instead of 70 hours, that's something I would do. But again, catch 22 with wherever people go. And yeah, the fact that there will be limitations just shows that there is like some sort of hint of, moral discrepancy here. Because, if this was like EA or somebody, they'll let you go as far as you want. But it's good to see that there is some stop here.
And the last game for the 8th here, Samson, a Tindleston story. I think that's how you pronounce it. But it seems like an interesting kind of what they call consequence-heavy noir action game. Maybe a little Max Payne with like maybe some. I don't know if it's open world areas or just some driving segments, but it looks pretty neat. This is only on.
Yeah, I think there are plans to put this on console eventually, but it does look interesting. As you mentioned, the Max Payne stuff. There's also a bunch of developers on here who worked on Just Cause during their heyday, so could be pretty promising.
Yeah, thing I saw.
Mm.
So yeah, there's that for the 8th, and still got more games for this week. For the 9th, there's a game called Beyond Words for PS5, Xbox. This is published by P-Cube.
Hmm.
It is a roguelike strategy and word crafting fusion game that it looks like does not look like what you would expect when you say from the creators of GoldenEye and Time Splitters.
Hmm.
Because it looks like what if you have Scrabble, but you have multiple boards and other things going on while you're doing all this.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's pretty neat. It also comes from the people that's helped popularize. But yeah, that's also probably a game that's not a super huge budget when you're trying to set out to, like, maybe you work your way up to GoldenEye, starting with that with a bunch of funding and then fail and have to shut down. Like, so this seems like a more reasonable game to start off with. So yeah, that'll be out for that. So that's one to keep an eye on.
Hmm.
Also on the 9th is Minos on the PC.
Yep.
This is a new Devolver Digital published game from developer Artificer.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's like a maze building strategic puzzle game. Looks feeds into like the Minotaur kind of Greek mythology. That looks neat. For this week is a game called Scoutfold Moonless Night. This
Hmm.
is a Metroidy kind of game, um, featuring Lovecraftian nightmares. The Lovecraftian Nightmare, the Angelic Empire. Because I think there's other Scoutfold games. So I think it's a sequel to that. Yeah, this has been out in early access for a while on PC and now PlayStation, Xbox, and
Hmm.
Switch on April 9th. For that, that's it for this week. On the 14th, we've got Dosa Divas, One Last Meal. This is the new game from its Outer Loop Games coming to PS5, Xbox on April 14th. So yeah, the same studio that's made Thirsty Suitors, and what was their other game? Falcon Age. Some pretty cool games. This
Hmm.
is taking the kind of Indian culture infused kind of thing, doing some more cool stuff as it's kind of
Oh
a
yeah.
turn-based RPG. We're kind of piloting this like big mech
Yep.
to fight people. Pretty good premise there
Oh
for this
yeah.
kind of game.
Yeah, and they're also going full on clear obscure with this one too. Like it has the whole Paper Mario timing system, and at the same time, there's counters as well.
Yep.
So yeah, that looks neat. Also on the 14th, Hades 2 is finally coming to PS5 and X. You can check that out. Also on the 14th is Replaced, a game that's been delayed a bunch of times and
Hmm.
now has been delayed into competing with Hades 2.
Yep.
So yeah, there you go. That's only on Xbox and I believe also on Game Pass. Really cool. So definitely interested in that. Then on the Thursday there, the 16th, we got Gecko Gods for PS5, Switch, and PC. This is a like puzzle platformer kind of game. Maybe the freestyle puzzle kind of system,
Hmm.
especially as you could solve puzzles with a little freeform kind of stuff going on. But yeah, that one. Also on the 16th is Mouse PI for Hire.
Yep.
That one's also been delayed a decent bit. Going to PS5, Xbox, Switch 2, and PC. Kind of Bioshock-esque kind of immersive sim
Yep.
that's going on here that looks pretty neat.
Yeah.
Has the kind of classic Mickey Mouse style going on.
Hmm.
Look forward to. Also on the 16th, Opus Prism Peak, another game that's been delayed a bunch. Will finally be out on Switch, Switch 2, and PC for that. And also on the 16th,
Hmm.
Tomodachi Life Living the Dream for the Switch, the Nintendo franchise, poised to do pretty well. It seems like, especially if the filter stuff in the demo persists to the full game. We're gonna have anything they want, ruining that as much as they can.
Probably.
But yeah, there's that for the 16th, and the other game that week on the 17th is Pragmata, Capcom's newest action game, I guess.
Yeah.
A long-awaited game that got announced for PS5 back at the start of the generation now finally is ready to come out and is actually looking really good. Got some good combat and the way that they build in interesting. You're kind of aiming at these robots with your gun, and at the same time you are using your face buttons, a little puzzle grid to try to get your path going through, various potentially extra bonus to take down its shield in different ways and all that kind of stuff. Pretty clever way to fit that into there. Yeah,
And the thing is, and the weirdest thing is, you would think it's like confusing or cumbersome, but it's like it's so well designed. It's like it becomes second nature very quickly.
Yeah, because the enemies aren't like fast zombies or anything like that.
No.
They're kind of lumbering at you, and you get. I'm sure there'll be some that may be faster.
Oh yeah.
At a certain point, but the ones that at least in the demo are kind of stumbling around a little bit. Your ability to deal with them. The only real knock on this game is that dealing with the little girl android.
Yeah, unfortunately.
At least they had a fun April Fool's gag. It was like, actually, this is a Mega Man game. What is the guy's name? Paul, something like that. I forget what it. Hugh. It was some man suit on top of the one he's already wearing. So that's it for that week. The week after that, there's Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wild Card from Vampire Survivors on the 21st. It's a very long name, but not the longest one I had. PS5, Xbox. And they've taken the general vibes and the framework of Vampire Survivors and built that into what is essentially like a roguelike deck builder, dungeon crawler kind. And so that might seem like it doesn't. It would be complicated or maybe not work super well, but from what I played of the demo, it has all the sort of nonsense you would expect out of that. So yeah, that looks like that should be pretty fun there. Let's see, for the 22nd, there's Masters of Albion. This is the latest game from Peter Molyneux at this is their new God game and probably Peter Molyneux's final game. I think he's maybe said as much.
Yeah.
But it's going into early access, I Steam. Supposed to be that, but they don't really mention that here. But that'll be interesting to see. Because the last game that they put out did not do, or it did well, but not to the point of them banning it.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of baggage. So much it's fun. There was also part of that was tied to a mobile game where you tapped a cube. Whoever got the last cube hit was supposed to win some money out of that, or part of the profits. And and the last game here for the 22nd is Tides of Tomorrow. This has been delayed a little bit. Like multiplayer, where maybe fighting people, but you do see like the paths that other people have played through these areas, and you can kind of use that to either infer that maybe it's the wrong way to go, or but it looks kind of neat. That's coming to PS5, Xbox. Let's see, we got the 23rd. Kiln will be out. This is a Double Fine game from Microsoft. A game that they have had in their like back pockets for a while. They put out like a very, very early version of this in one of their sort of game jam things that they made available to people in that version. This has been, expanded. A pretty neat idea of a multiplayer game where you are essentially going through the process of creating these pottery type of things, and based on how you do it, you create, big vases, small bowls. You're essentially trying to gather water and take it to the kiln and like douse their flames, which is definitely a neat premise. They'll be out on PS5, Xbox, and PC for that. So there's that. So they also have an open beta test that'll be happening this weekend coming up from the 9th to the 11th. So check it out early. Also the 23rd, Outbound. Coming to PS5, Xbox, Switch. This is an open world camper van exploration game. I think I've been keeping an eye on this game for quite a while, and it looks really neat. You're exploring these areas and essentially using materials to expand your camper van and give it, place to grow fruits and vegetables, add on, solar panels and all this other stuff. That looks like a really fun thing to do. So yeah, that'll be out on the 23rd. On the 24th, there is Snap and Grab. This is coming out on PC. It will be potentially later this year on consoles. Seems like it'll be a bit of an episodic launch. Episode 1 available here on the 24th. A heist puzzle that looks really neat. They have it set here in New York in 1987. You're the world's most famous fashion photographer. His career as a cover for stealing stuff. So you're going to be using henchmen to pull off heists with the help of your photography skills and all that. So nice. Hands out. So yeah, that looks neat.
I played a little bit of that one at Summer Game Fest last year. Didn't end up writing it, but want to. But yeah, like it is interesting that they're going for an episodic structure. I did play that mansion level, and yeah, it's really all about thinking about the best ways to do a heist. And there are a whole bunch of trial and error things that you can do, and ultimately, like it just has a really cool vibe to it. I don't know where they're going with the story or why they're making it episodic, but it does make me wonder, how many there are going to be, what kind of venues they'll go through, and stuff like that. So that's definitely one to look at.
And this is No Goblin, makers of very silly games like 100-foot robot golf, roundabouts. Seems like less of a jokey thing, but probably does. So there's that. Yeah, they say their second episodes have a bit more space between them, but
Yeah.
there you go for that. And rounding out the month on the 27th, there's Moomin Troll Winter's Warmth, new Moomin Troll game, Switch 2, and PC. So yeah, that looks neat. Then we got on the 28th, Aphelion. This is the new game from Supermassive. Or no, don't not. Yeah, cinematic sci-fi. It's coming to PS5, Xbox, and PC. So that looks like it should be pretty neat. Seems like $35 on consoles, $30 on PC. Then we got He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Dragon Pearl Destruction. The longest title of any game here. This is basically a He-Man beat 'em up game.
Yeah.
Coming from Bitmap Bureau, who makes a bunch of these kind of games. They made the Terminator 2D No Fate game, as well as so yeah, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC, pretty solid. And then the 29th, Neverness to Everness, for PS5, PC, and mobile. This is a new anime gacha game in the vein of a supernatural urban open world action. You'll have people to go run around cities, and I assume you can deal with that. On the 30th, we got Busbound. This is a new bus train published by Saber Interactive, but a studio that's made a bunch of the Bus Simulator 18 and 21. There's that. Also on the 30th, there's Incombini, One Store, Many Stories for PS5, Xbox, Switch 2, and PC. Slice of life. You're running a shop, a convenience store in Japan in the early 90s, and you're kind of, managing stock, wares, and occasionally having people come in that need help with things and kind of learning their story. It has a really nice look to it and really nice. And I really like the kind of twist that some of your items will get messed with a little bit, to be backwards or whatever, they move them around.
Yep.
Kind of stuff. So dealing with that part of it. So yeah, it looks pretty. Also on the 30th, there's Invincible Versus. The first big Invincible game. This is a 3v3 fighting game. Mistaken. But yeah, they have that coming out on the 30th for $50. Yeah, published by Skybound Games and all that, so that looks pretty decent. Yeah, PS5, Xbox. And the last one for the month is Soros for the PS5. Housemarque's second game of this generation.
Yep.
Should hopefully be another grand. Yeah, it feels like they have learned a lot of things from the first game. So they're making this with a bit more meta stuff that you can do between runs, and ways to kind of get a second chance on a run if you die. Maybe get back up and beat the boss, kind of stuff. And yeah, features Rahul Kohli as the main character. And yeah, as much as we've seen footage of this game, apparently it's not all just like red plant, which is good. Colonel had a bunch of biomes to explore and kill enemies on, and
Hmm.
seems like it'll have. That looks like that should. And that's April, huge month. What do you got? That
Well, obviously, Mouse PI for Hire is a big one because I'm going to be reviewing that one.
yeah,
Um, and Hades 2 as well because I would like to be able to play that on a console. I prefer to play games like that on console rather than on PC. Sigma Star Saga DX, I actually want to give that game a try. It looks pretty fun, like right up my alley. Um, let's see. Obviously, Pragmata. That's a big one. Like, I think pretty much everybody here wants to play that one. Um, and Saros, definitely. That is, because I loved Returnal, and I definitely want to play another game by that company again. Aphelion, I would like to give a chance at some point because, it's a Don't Nod joint, and they do make some pretty good, interesting stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I know we don't have it listed on this list, but we should probably point out that Mina the Hollower is supposed to come out in the next before the end of spring. We just don't have a date yet.
yeah. There's no.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically what I'm looking forward to this month.
How about you, Dana?
Yeah, I've previewed a lot of these games, and I am like interested in a lot of them. People of note comes to mind. Chain Staff was a game that I previewed at GDC last year, but was also like too tough for me. But I hope that one does end up good. We just talked about Pokemon Champions. I do want to dive into that. Dosa Divas looks really cool. I don't know how much time I'll have for that one, but I do hear it's a shorter RPG. Mouse PI for Hire. I'm all about that visual style, but I also don't really like first-person shooter games. So there's a little bit of a catch-22 there, but I do want to try that one. Tomodachi Life looks interesting. I'm loving how Nintendo has not censored anything at all. I don't know if that will remain the case, but when that demo came out, it definitely took off. Like, Kayla's review had 2,000 views by the time the week ended. And yeah, that was just her pouncing on a cool opportunity. Pragmata is also like one of my most anticipated games of the year. I have previewed that game 4 times, and I can't wait until that game comes out. Let's see here. Kiln is also a pretty cool one. I did not play enough of it when I was at GDC or PAX East, but I hope to get involved in one of those betas coming soon. Moomin Troll also looks really interesting, but also I heard like that game might be a little bit longer, so we'll see. I did play He-Man at PAX East. That one's a whole lot of fun, and I'm liking that. Like, I'm liking that one a whole lot better than I liked the Jay and Silent Bob side scroller. So that one could be really cool. And I feel like Inconbini one store mini stories could be a sleeper hit as far as the indies go. I really had fun with that demo during Steam Next Fest, and it was really cool. Just like I don't know if anybody read my preview, but I talked about my anxiety in regards to like getting retail right. And I don't know if like any of that will actually matter or if any of the store keep actually matters because the stories are going to take front and center. But if the way you upkeep the store does matter, I'm probably going to enjoy this game more than most. Invincible Versus is absolutely fun. I got my ass handed to me during GDC, but I also did well during Evo last year, so there's that. And Saros looks cool, but it's not that I didn't like Returnal. I just suck at those kinds of games. But yeah, again, as I mentioned earlier, April.
Yeah. For me, probably the game Crawlers.
Mm-hmm.
That demo is just a lot of fun, so I'm excited to play a more permanent version. Yeah, Saros is also up there. Got a finished run in that. I think I probably got to play for the next couple weeks before the game comes out, the sequel. So excited for Inconbini, One Store, Many Stories, and Outbound is kind of the simulator. I may check out Aphelion, maybe for a sale in the near future. Gecko Gods is also one I'm very interested in. Yeah, and I'll probably check it out. So yeah, some good stuff there. For May, we got a little bit less. The early part of the month seems like the most open because there's just not much listed for that. But yeah, on the 1st, there's a game called Constance, a 2D hand-drawn Metroid kind of game that has been out on PC for a bit, is coming to consoles on May 1st on PS5. It has a really nice art style to it. And yeah, it just looks really nice. It has a very, the comparisons to Hollow Knight and Celeste.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the 5th, Wax Heads. This is an indie game that's been around for a
Mm-hmm.
bit. From Curve Games and developer Patati. This is coming to PS5, Xbox. You're kind of a record store clerk going on with that looks neat. The 7th is Mixtape. Another game that's been kicking around for a while. This is like I forget if this one's set in the is very much the style of that.
Mm-hmm.
With like 80s and 90s Devo, Special Banshee kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But yeah, it's the premise here: on their last night of high school, three friends embark on one more adventure together, play through a mixtape of memories set to the soundtrack. They end up having maybe some supernatural stuff happen to them. But the devs of The Artful Escape in some more vibe space. That looks neat. That's PS5, Xbox, Switch 2, and PC on May 7th. And that's kind of it for the first half. Is Directive 8020, a dark pictures game.
Mm-hmm.
This is on PS5, Xbox, and PC, and it's sort of seems like Supermassive making a
Yeah.
in their vein instead of this being like a part of an anthology thing like their first round of games were.
Mm-hmm.
All those were sort of smaller at most.
Mm-hmm.
A bigger thing going on with definitely some good blending of Alien
Mm-hmm.
into maybe some Dead Space and some other stuff going on here.
Yeah, and the thing.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of influence there, and that pretty solid game description here, like new mechanics, a flashlight, a scanner, a messenger, a wedge tool,
Mm-hmm.
like more complex. The other dark that looks neat, and that's your first half of the month, like 4/15. There's Thrifty Business on the 18th. This is a sequel to Sticker Business. Same developers. So yeah, that's a cozy thrift shop management game.
Mm-hmm.
So you're managing like 90s inspired vintage thrift shop with a cute art style and all that going on. So that looks pretty neat. The 19th is Forza Horizon 6 for Xbox and PC. PS5 later this year. This is the one that finally arrives in Japan and desecrates more sacred in this game for their locales. That the 20th, Atomic Owl. That looks
Mm-hmm.
pretty neat. This is a side-scrolling roguelike action platformer
Mm-hmm.
coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. Been on a PC since last summer. Meets art style 21st, Coffee Talks Tokyo, PS5,
Mm-hmm.
Xbox, the third game in that series, so you can check that one out. Starbites. This is
Mm-hmm.
the new NIS America game, NIS America published game that is looks pretty solid. Let's see for stuff with it. Is that Table Flip Simulator also on the 21st?
Mm-hmm.
PS5, Xbox. The new game from publisher PM Studio and developer Yummy, which seems like a physics kind of game. Basically, put you in a I guess flip a table at a cashier at a store, the register barista throwing coffee. You're busting up things in the business, and you get idea for a thing. And then yeah, we still got two more for the 21st. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, the game that signals Nintendo is $70 game. So yeah, action is nice style. Before Zero Parades for Dead Spies. So that's your 5 games. The 22nd, we got Bubsy 4D, the game that will break the Bubsy curse
Yep.
and be an actual good game. People can get excited about the header of Atari. Also out that day, Lego Batman Legacy of as the Lego game, kind of doing for Batman where they had the big Skywalker, so feature a bunch of Batman fan service. And then yeah, we got the last few days of the month here. On the 26th, there's Lumentale Memories
Mm-hmm.
of a Tray. This is a monster collecting RPG. That looks pretty neat. Like that one. 27th, got a big game for the month, 007 First Light.
Mm-hmm.
iOS next game, working the Bond.
Mm-hmm.
That looks PS5, Xbox. 28th, Bluey's Quest for the Gold Pen. This is probably the biggest of the Bluey games we've seen in a while. This is a story-driven adventure game coming from Half Brick, who used to make a game, a mobile developer. Now they're back. A big console game for PlayStation, Xbox on to see. And then also on the 28th, Wandering Sword. This is sort of a wuxia RPG in the vein of the HD kind of games and all that. So yeah, that looks pretty neat. It's out on PS5 on May 28th. Apparently it's come to Switch and Switch 2 later in the year. So you can check that one. 29th. The last game dated here, My Little Puppy. This was shown, I partner direct to the Switch and the PS5 version. The launch of the Switch version, and it seems like you can check that one. Cute little game. And I got two here that are scheduled for May. I do not have dates yet. There's Motor Slice, which is an action game. Or parkour meets slice of life action adventure characters kind of going around and fighting a bunch of machines by cutting them, causing oil and gunk to spill around all over. Meets PS5, Xbox. And the other one that doesn't have a date yet is R-Type Dimensions. It's coming to PS5, Xbox, Switch, Switch 2, and PC in May. They announced this last December, so I'm curious if it's going to actually hit the month. I haven't seen a delay yet, but this would be the time frame they would start. But yeah, they are doing for R-Type 3 what they did for this little sub series in full 3D graphics. It'll still be a 2D shooter and all that, but giving it new high res. There's that, and that's your May. Brandon, what are you?
Constance looks neat. Probably Mixtape. Definitely looks interesting. I like those kind of nostalgic slice of life games. Let's say Yoshi and the Mysterious Book looks interesting. Bubsy 4D, I cannot believe I'm actually looking forward to a Bubsy game, but yeah, that actually looks good. And also 007 First Light. That's pretty much it for me.
How about you, Danner?
Yeah, May also looks really, really nice. Mixtape is probably my most anticipated indie game of the year. Played a little bit of that at SGF 2 years ago. It was at GDC this year, but I'm already sold on it. Like, as far as the John Hughes 80s vibe, like, that game has it. Forza Horizon 6, I would not have cared about until we saw the developer showcase earlier this year. I had no idea they were doing Japan, and that is the main reason why I'm interested. Coffee Talk Tokyo, huge fan of the series, looking forward to jumping into that one.
Oh shit, I missed that one. Yeah, I also want Coffee Talk Tokyo. I just overlooked it. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah, that one looks like it could be totally cool. I mean, we already know what it'll be. We know what we're getting. But yeah, going to Tokyo is a huge deal. Starbites is a game that I played at PAX West last year, and it seemed like a run-of-the-mill thing, but I do want to give it more of a chance. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, we haven't had a really stellar Yoshi game in a few years. I don't know if this will break that mold, but it's also going to be like the first Nintendo game to, have a more expensive physical version than digital, so let's hope that they actually make it worth it here. Zero Parades I have my eye on. I've never played what's that game called again? The same creators.
Disco Elysium.
Yeah, I've never played Disco Elysium. I don't know if it's in my wheelhouse. So we'll see with this one. And, like Brandon, I am also surprised. I am looking forward to Bubsy 4D, but I have played a bunch of demos to this point. This game will hit. I almost guarantee it. And, that's the punchline. We're finally going to get a good one. Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. A lot of people are really excited for this one. And granted, the Lego games are really fun. I don't really know what makes this one different and why people are looking more forward to it. But that being said, I'm happy for them. I'll definitely give it a try when that one comes out. 007 First Light is probably the AAA game that I'm looking forward to as far as May goes. As a huge 007 fan, I think this one has the potential to, be one of the best 007 games. And the main reason why is because it looks like they get 007 right here. As good as GoldenEye was, nobody's going to say Pierce Brosnan was the best James Bond at all. And I really think, this new guy that they have at the helm with First Light could really go there because these games aren't really about stealth. They're about just, the action. And I think this version of James Bond definitely does have that. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Yeah, for me, there's 007 First Light. Probably the game of this year that I'm most excited about. What else we got here? I'm probably pretty interested in Wax Heads. I like the idea of that game. Yeah, Bubsy 4D probably is. I like that. They've been doing some cool stuff. But yeah, a lot of stuff is a little bit up in the that's kind of the stuff that. And June's basically what got announced so far. There's really not much that's been announced for it. For the 9th, there's Voidling Bound. They call a monster taming action RPG. It's kind of got a bit more of a survival kind of thing going on. Is the way that they frame at least the monster stuff in this trailer. It does not look like it's Pokemon style, any of it. It seems like more like creating these creatures and like deciding how they're going to evolve and all that kind of stuff. Survival. On the 17th, there's Dench Attack, a really wacky kind of game that I played the demo for. That is basically, what if you take the vibes of a Jet Set Radio and merge it into a game that takes rail grinding gameplay from like a Ratchet and Clank and mixes it with and Skate. It makes for a wild and wacky kind of game that is looking pretty fun. Yeah, that's June 17th for PS5, Xbox. Check that one out. The 18th is Adventures of Elliot, the most generic game title that Square Enix has come up with yet.
Yeah, and in spite of that, though, I have played the demo, and I really liked what I found, what I played, so.
Yeah, they took the kind of style of their HD 2D stuff and kind of built a game that's a bit more of a action RPG kind of element. Demo is pretty good and pretty meaty for all that, so yeah, that one's looking pretty good. $230 gets you desktop clock. Is that there's a copy of the game, a code for the digital deluxe, and a Fae in the Door of Time desktop. What does that need? An extra. Also on the 18th, R-Type Tactics 1 and 2 Cosmos. This is their collection of the first tactics games they put on the PSP. Sort of big new fancy package. So that's PlayStation, Xbox, Switch 2, and PC. So that's looking pretty cool. And then the last dates we have here is Dead or Alive 6 Last Round. They're finally remastering Dead or Alive 6 before they make a new game. And it seems like probably pretty solid, but also not what people, the hardcore fighting games fans would want. Because as far as I've seen, they don't have any sort of rollback netcode kind of stuff. And it seems more like they've figured out a new way that they can potentially sell more. Because yeah, they have a paid version for $40, and they'll have a free-to-play version called Core Fighters. Buy more fighters kind of stuff and that's and the only other game that's been announced for June but doesn't have a specific date is Frog Squad. We saw this at the Xbox. That is sort of a one of those physics-based co-op extraction puzzle platformer thing that you're playing as frogs using your tongues to swing around and grab stuff and collect food for the swamp food you have to get with each level. So you're trying to, meet those goals too. If not, you do, fail, and you have one of those kind of. That's Xbox and PC only, and that's your. So yeah, Brandon, anything here you're looking forward to?
Honestly, just the Adventures of Elliot. That's the one I am, because I like I said, I've played the demo. I liked what I saw, so that's mine.
How about you, Danner?
Yeah, see, June is really interesting, and I don't know if we want to go back to previous shows, but we're at a point where we don't know what's coming out after May, and I don't know when we will, because the beginning of June is Summer Game Fest, and that's when we know the rest of the year, and it's just weird knowing or not knowing what's happening. Anyway, avoiding that tangent, Dench Attack looks really cool. That demo and that studio look like they're really doing some wild things with Crazy Taxi and a bus and whatever it may be. It looks totally awesome and totally in my wheelhouse there. And then Adventures of Elliot is absolutely the crown jewel here. I know there's been a lot of positivity for that demo. The people that I've talked to at Square say that it is wildly different from that now. And I guess we're going to hear more about that soon. But yeah, looking forward to it. I don't think Square Enix would try to sell a $140 special edition if the game was going to suck. So yeah, we'll see. And yeah, that date is interesting. With the 18th and Summer Game Fest happening at the beginning of the month, it'll be a weird time with with review codes around that time. But yeah, looking forward to it. And then Dead or Alive 6 has me interested for everything that like Pat's talked about in our Discord. That's a game that I feel like Tecmo really needs to hit out of the park. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say that special edition is not $140, it's $230. So
Okay, never mind. Yeah, there you go.
it's the difference
Point
in
taken.
price.
Yeah, Square Enix special editions as of late are things that I have been completely avoiding, primarily because one, the price that they are, and two, they're only sold on Square Enix's site, and they don't give you a deal for shipping. So, yeah, not happy with that.
I'm looking at it here, they describe it as an analog style tabletop clock. So no, also alongside the regular game. I think this might be the clock. This is a fancy clock. $140 fancy. I don't know. Tell me if I'm being how expensive. They're selling the clock. Or they're selling the collector's box, the digital edition, and just get the special thing. And they're selling that to the soundtrack. It's an expensive clock.
Yep.
A game that you're not sure if you like it just yet.
Well, you know, timepieces and the technology, not the technology, but the mechanisms in there are not cheap.
But yeah, for me, for this month, Dead Attack is the highlight. I'll probably check out the Adventures of Elliot at some point. That will go on sale at some point, but Dead Attack is just excited about. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up there unless you guys have anything to add.
Nope.
All right, so yeah, that's your spring release preview, and it kind of, as always, the further we go out on dates, that stuff will change over time.
Oh yeah.
Closer. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and thank you to Brandon and Danner for joining this week.
Always.
We'll be back next week with a new slate of news and games to talk about, and hopefully some better news, especially things that aren't about quote-unquote classic cartoons being fucked up by AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you enjoy the show, let friends and family know, they should check out the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And select strangers that are also looking for Zara's. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you have a good week ahead. We will see you all next time. Have a good one.
Bye.
See ya.